Yeah.
Right, so this is the Great Map of Westeros as taken from the opening credits Game of Thrones, seasons 1 to 7. Currently we're in the south, which doesn't get to see much screen time, but we've got Old Town in the southwest. That's where Sam goes off and becomes a maester. Over in the southeast, we've got Sunspear, which is home of the Dornish. So Oberyn Martell had a very notable appearance in season 4. Coming up through Highgarden, home of House Tyrell. And then up the west coast for Casterly Rock and River Run in the centre. Hopefully you can see that some modules are moving, some are not. Deliberate design choice there. Carrying on up the west coast, we've got Pike, big location in Game of Thrones, home of the Greyjoys, Theon and Yara. And this was a really good example of how I tried to match the opening credits as much as possible on the opening sequence there. So you can see the 3 pillars bobbing up and down. So carrying on up the map, we've got in the middle there, we've got the bridge there, the twins. Infamous ending to season 3. If you haven't seen the show, I won't spoil it. So here we've got King's Landing, obviously a big major part of Game of Thrones, and again trying to replicate the opening sequence with the rising and falling of the building. Quite difficult to do such a large building and such a small scale and still have it faithful, so I'm pretty happy with the way that one turned out. So we've got 10 moving settlements. Here's another one, the Eyrie, which is where they throw people out the door to the bottom of the mountains.
That's right, yeah.
And then of course in Game of Thrones a big wide expanse of nothing in the north, and then now we get to the Dreadfort, which is home of House Bolton, so Theon got captured and taken there. Winterfell, can't have Game of Thrones without Winterfell, very famous. And then of course one of my personal favourites here is the Wall with the moving elevator, home of the Night's Watch. And of course everything north of the Wall is the Wildling territories, and again lots of details packed in there, little settlements, trees and other little places, which is quite cool. So I needed a lot of room to get my sort of hands in there to work with the motors and what have you. So the foundation was actually one of the more important parts of the design process. I decided to model it on the crypts of Winterfell underneath with all the statues and things. So each of these minifig here represents a different character in the show. People have been having good fun trying to spot who's who.
And if you spot some Easter eggs, of course.
Yes, of course. Well, that's the infamous season 8 Easter egg right there.
Yeah.
Again, if you're watching after it debuted, you won't see it because they cut it out of all future.
Oh, is that right? They've cut it out, haven't they? Yeah.
You can also see here we've got some custom printed banners. These are from RicsBricks in Motueka.
I will link to RicsBricks below as well. He does some awesome work. So
done some great work on this, so thanks Rick. Again, moving through, should be able to pick some of the more obvious people like Jaime Lannister here with the golden hand and Cersei with her wine cup. But another sort of subtle Easter egg is this one here. Again, I mentioned Oberyn Martell, played by Pedro Pascal. He's in The Mandalorian, so that's why he's wearing the Mandalorian helmet here. Right, so cruising through here, we've got Gillian, her baby, and Sam. Another little Easter egg for Star Wars fans coming up. The Captain Phasma helmet, obviously, for Gwendolyn Christie, who played Brienne of Tarth in Game of Thrones and was in 2 of the latest movies.
that's right.
And again, moving through past more characters, Drogon there, Bran the Broken, and Arya Stark with the shorter legs and the foils. So had a bit of fun trying to figure out which character was which and how to best represent them in monochrome and subtle stuff, but pretty good effect at the end. So here's one of the more important parts of the map for me, and in the middle here you can see a little alcove here with some words and some dates. This is a memoriam of my father who passed from cancer August last year, and he was a big influence on this work. He saw me in the planning stages and the initial sort of stages of building Winterfell and the Wall, and it was his encouragement which kept me going through this process. So after he died, it gave me a good focus. So the Lego building has been quite good for the healing after he passed. So really neat to be able to show off the work and sort of honour him in that way
absolutely,
too.
man. Tell us about what went into the actual planning and the putting it all together, and the process of even the scale, coming up with a scale that you were going to work with, you know?
Well, I first told my wife that I was going to do a Game of Thrones thing out of Lego, and she said, "Oh, well, what are you going to do? Because it's not very family friendly." And so I thought of the only family friendly part of the show was actually the opening part. So,
Yeah, that's true. Actually, that is true.
so that was the first step, and then when I realised that it's going to be quite large in order to take in the details, it was a careful planning process. I had to set a limit, a boundary of basically 24 48 by 48 base plates. So it measures 3 base plates by 8 base plates deep. And from there it was finding a picture of the map and sort of scaling it on a computer program, and then breaking off the 24 sections of 48 by 48s, and then just ploshing from there and going from all that. I used Studio as well to get me a rough parts list, which was very interesting. The scale numbers just balloon out. So the story I like to tell is that I've got 11,000 1x2 trans blue tiles here, so trans light blue tiles. So.
And the process of ordering those, you were telling me about this as well. It's, you know, you had to get them direct from Lego.
Had to get them direct from Lego because apparently there are variations in the colour between different factories. So if you go Bricklink, you might get some darker ones, some lighter ones. So to be consistent, I had to get them all in one batch. And so just directly ordered from Lego themselves, and they said, oh, quantities of 1,000, so I put a little 1 in front of that. In the end, the price actually ended up to be about the same as Bricklink, except I didn't have to pay 20 lots of postage. So all in all, an interesting exercise.
Yeah, I'm sure. Have you got a rough piece count in there? You know,
roughly 125,000.
125,000. Yeah.
That was the studio part count plus another 10-15% on top of that. So,
Fair call. Hours?
In terms of building, 5.5 months, so 2.5, 3 hours a day every day for 5 months. Gives you a rough sort of dollar man.
Wow, awesome. Hey, look, thank you very much for going through it with it.
Hey,
really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Happy to be here at Auckland Brick Show.
Awesome, mate. Thank you.